Hey guys, I know a lot of people struggle with dealing with their emotions. When they get in a negative headspace, they often spiral. They often hold on to emotions, they suppress their emotions, they store their emotions away. So if you have a hard time processing your emotions, if you feel like things don't change, if you are stuck in a constant loop, if you just feel stagnated in life, you just feel stuck, watch this video. I'll break down how to feel your emotions, how to detach from your emotions. So, the first thing, understand that everything changes. Every single day, everything changes. You change every day without even trying. The people around you change every day. Trees change every day. Dogs change every day. Nature changes every day. Clouds are changing everything is in constant motion. Everything is changing. So I feel like I notice with these people is that they think that they just cannot change. They think that their sadness will stay forever and their stress will just continue to weigh down on them. But physically, like, that is just not true because everything changes. Nothing stays the same. So I think understanding that, first of all, that everything is emotion, everything is changing, you need to allow yourself to accept the fact that your headspace can change, your situation can change. Because no matter how you try, you cannot stay stuck. You just can't. So, you need to feel these emotions. The emotions you're feeling, you need to feel them. If you feel sad, allow yourself to feel sad. And if you're confused about that, a lot of people, I think all they do is just think about their emotions. They just think about how sad they are, but they really don't feel how sad they are. They don't know where this emotion lies in their body. They don't know how their body reacts to these emotions. So I think what we need to do is feel them. Really practice and feel them. Because that's what allows these emotions to pass you by. If you don't feel them and all you do is think about them, your body will kind of like store these emotions inside of you and you'll start to feel suppressed. You'll start to feel anxiety. Anxiety is a dictator that you haven't been feeling your emotions. You've just been storing them inside of your body, and that's why you feel like you cannot control your brain, is because you have all of these emotions and thoughts that haven't been dealt with. It's like throwing a whole bunch of ingredients in a humongous pot and just letting it sit, and then you taste this concoction in this pot and it tastes absolutely terrible. That's what's going on in your body when you don't allow yourself to feel these emotions. Because if you don't feel your emotions, then you store them. These emotions and these emotions just don't disappear. Your body stores them, and this happens kind of unconsciously. We can't feel when our body's storing them in that moment. But after a long time, you'll feel that stress, you'll feel that anxiety, you'll feel that nothing is changing. And also understand that no emotion is bad for you. We were all given the ability and the senses to feel these emotions. You have not felt a unique emotion. Unique experience maybe, but even then, I don't think you've had a one-on-one experience because there's billions of people on this earth, and that would just be a very low percentage. But anyways, the emotions you're feeling, the headspace you're in, you were born to be able to feel that way. Does that mean you have to stay that way? Does that mean that you were destined to be sad and depressed? No, that's not what I'm saying. But everyone feels sadness. Everyone eventually feels shame, feels guilt. Everyone feels happiness. Everyone feels confident. Everyone feels confused. Everyone feels nervous. Everyone feels the same emotions. And that is just a fact. But what happens, and what happens probably to you, I'm assuming, when you spiral is that you attach to these emotions. You perceive them in a bad light, which kind of makes our brain want to attach them in a weird way. I don't know why this happens, but I feel like the worse we perceive something, the more our brain kind of wants to think about it and ruminate about it more, you know? So I think you need to understand that no emotion is necessarily bad. It's just you are perceiving it in a bad way. You know? Let's take, for instance, let's say a dog, right? A dog is a dog. But some people perceive dogs in different ways. Some people are scared of dogs. Some people love dogs. Some people don't really care about dogs. At the end of the day, it is our perception that is what creates this kind of image and feelings and emotions and thoughts when it comes to dogs. Same thing with emotions. It is your perception on these emotions. And if your perception is scared and always negative towards certain emotions, that's what you're going to get when, let's say, for instance, sadness comes into your life. When you start feeling sadness, you're going to have a bad perception. So, how to kind of change this perception? Instead of always thinking about them, like I said, you need to feel them. Just like a baby, right? A baby can go from crying bloody murder and then 30 seconds later, a minute later, they're back to normal. Now, it's not that simple for us because, you know, we're more conscious, but that's kind of the same thing. They felt their emotion fully, and then they could move on to the next emotion because these emotions pass through us. We are not the emotions. The emotions are passing through us. The only thing we are is the observer that observes these emotions, and the observer that can feel these emotions. If I had to make kind of an analogy on how to imagine how to feel these emotions, I would say imagine you're sitting on a hill, right? And you're looking down at a highway and you see all these cars pass, right? You're aware of all the cars, you can hear them, you can see them, the different colors, a truck, a car. Those are your emotions. The cars on the highway are your emotions. And what we need to do is instead of feeling them, or instead of just instead of attaching to these emotions, just like on a highway, you just need to let them pass, because they will pass if you allow it to. I guarantee it. You need to feel them like a baby. You need to let them pass. You need to understand that everything changes. You need to understand that no emotions are necessarily bad. And that is kind of that's at least what I do to not attach to these emotions, because attaching onto emotions are not bad. And let's say you do get in a negative headspace. You know, let's say you start to spiral, because after watching this video, if you apply all this, it's not like a magic trick where you'll be this monk and this master of your mind. This is a practice, right? But let's say you just had a really bad day, and your thoughts are kind of spiraling. You're feeling these heavy emotions. What you need to do is, first of all, feel them. And I don't think it would be realistic or logical for me to tell you to just ignore them, right? So you gotta be present in that moment. You gotta understand what's going on. You know, you gotta feel these emotions. These bad thoughts are gonna come to you. You're probably gonna think of these bad thoughts, which is why you spiral. But you just need to consciously tell yourself that right now you are emotional. Your thoughts are not straight. Your brain is not straight. You're not aligned in this moment. So you need to consciously make the decision to not make any conclusions based off the thoughts that you are thinking. Because these thoughts are not authentic thoughts. These thoughts are not productive to your life. These thoughts are not the true voice in your head, that true divine voice from God in your head. So you need to make the decision that you will not make any conclusions about yourself when you are in this emotional state. And that will help you because you need to understand that, like I've said, you are not your emotions. You just attach to them, which causes your stress and anxiety and your sadness. So understand everything's changing. Understand you were given the ability to feel all these emotions, and everyone else in the world has felt these emotions. Understand that no emotion's bad, we just perceive them that way. Understand that instead of attaching to them and just thinking about them, you need to feel them. Feeling them is what heals. Understand that you cannot make conclusions when you're in an emotional state. And then reference back to the highway and car analogy. So that's all I got to say about how to detach from emotions. So thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that. Thank you for listening.